results of a European project that is just finishing after 3 years and 6 months. That was called ESPRIT project. ESPRIT for easily distributed personal rapid transit. So I will talk about the objective of this project and the features of this system and the main achievements. So why this kind of project? In cities, we can use two-way car sharing for long distance and low volume trips. But it's better to have one-way car sharing, which is a really interesting service in cities and suburbs. So you can hire a car and leave it there, and car sharing will fill this missing link for mobility as a service. It's good for short trips and access to public transportations also. And it's also great to go to work from suburbs or to suburbs. So it's a good solution for the first or last mile. But there is problems for this kind of system. For example, maybe you hear about the Autolib that was in Paris, and this was stopped recently. So it's not easy to have such kind of system. Among unsolved problems, we have that cars end up where no one wants to travel from, so it's expensive to relocate a car. You need two people to go to two cars and then to come back with one car. So it's very expensive. Also, there is poor reliability. For example, if you have empty stations or saturated stations, so it's difficult to have a car for people. And also stations are expensive. And also in big cities like Paris, with the place is very expensive. So you have to refuel cars and clever pricing to be interesting for people and to produce a reliable system, because there is a lot of aggressive acts on the vehicles, and also to clean and maintain cars in good working. So what can be done? So the idea of this project was to imagine a trackless, compact, stackable, and mechanically coupled vehicles. So it is very interesting because you can redistribute the fleet of vehicles, not only one, but several cars in the same time, by an operator that can take a road train until 8 vehicles, but even us, all users, can take until 2 vehicles. So it's already interesting to redistribute one car while using it. It's also interesting for place, to win place, because you have parking compactness. You can have one charging station only per train, and also you can have some interesting features, like for example battery balancing, energy balancing between vehicles to recharge the vehicle. So the concept is interesting, and we can have what is called a Kanban type redistributions. The idea is the following: you have a system oriented to the user. So if there is a lot of people that are using such vehicles, you have a lot of vehicle available. But if otherwise, if there is not so much use, for example, in the middle of the day, you need less back office to maintain the system. So the workforce is aligned with the need. So the two main ways of using are the following: a one-way car sharing in city center directly for big cities, or suburban to connect people to the public transport. so it's for dense suburban areas. So both ways, for example, are interesting for big cities, capitals. So here you have already a picture of the final system that was produced during the project. So from the technical vehicle side, what was the objective? To define and develop functionalities of such a system until TRL5, while working on the safety aspects, and to develop 3 complete vehicles, so these vehicles, and also 3 other vehicles that are exactly the same, just without the good-looking design of the chassis, but elsewhere they are the same. So at the end of the project, we have 6 working vehicles. And we were working on their homologability. For their industrialization. So the technical challenges are the following. We need to be able to drive, brake and steer such vehicles without sway and oscillation risk. We will talk about that more. And jackknifing aspects. Jackknifing, you can imagine a big truck when you are the towed part that you have an accident. It's a jackknifing. Like with the knife. We need to be able to guide and couple the vehicles, and especially in the stations, inside station. So this is done automatically. To be charging and balancing energy between vehicles, and homologation aspects. From operational and mobility side, so it was needed to estimate if the system is socially and economically relevant on 3 use cases that were done in Lyon, in Glasgow, and in L'Hospitalet. L'Hospitalet being the suburban area of Barcelona, close to the airport. So to estimate economy, sustainability, and social benefit. To finally find a market and to use really this system. So now let's talk more about the technical aspects of one vehicle. So here you can see the vehicle. In the center of the vehicle you have an articulation. So you can block or make free this articulation. If it's blocked, it's like a usual car, usual vehicle with the front steering here. But if it is towed, so coupled to another vehicle, the front part that is towed cannot steer the front wheels anymore, but the articulation becomes free. And so you have the road trail, which is here, and it's articulated with the central articulations. Here you can see that at the articulation level, you have one damper, here in blue. This damper is fully free, so the articulation is free, or you have some damping that you can regulate to define a damping at the articulation level, which will help to stabilize the road trail. So you have the lead vehicle, the first one, the front one, which is always manually driven by an operator or a driver, with its central articulation blocked. And then top vehicles are contributing to the traction, because only one vehicle wouldn't be able to make the traction for all the whole train. So all vehicles are participating to the traction of the wheels, and they are controlling their damper for the articulation damping. Such kind of system has the particularity to be single track. So all vehicles are going to the same track. But there is an issue it is that such a system is naturally unstable, so dynamically and unstable. We will see that. So there was a need for stabilizing control. So that's why this work package was done, which is called Kinematic and Dynamic Behavior Management System.
The instability does not depend upon the speed. At low speed, I would expect it to be quite stable, but at high speed,
it's even less stable.
Yeah, okay. So it's still unstable even at low speed.
Even at low speed, yes. We will see a simulation about that.
And all the vehicles are driving. I mean, they are putting power into the movement, isn't it? It's not the first one that is tracking everything.
Exactly.
That's the problem.
All vehicles are participating to the
problem.
effort. Yeah. So here you have a global view of the project structure. It's usual structure of European projects, and you can see here the technical, kinematic and dynamic behavior management system work package, with also, of course, the vehicle testing to validate that. And you have other work package dedicated to, for example, the power, or the steering design, or other aspects. So here you have the view of all the partners. For example, Smart Design, which is a French company in Lyon that was working on the global mechanical conception of the system. Okay, so now let's talk about major achievements of this project. We had everything to define, communication, software, control laws, everything. So first, the hardware and software prototype was specified for a workforce of 6 vehicles. We had here an embedded controller here with some touchscreen interface, some sensors. Here you have a menu. And in the ring you can see another controller which is in charge of input-output hub dispatching, for example, to control directly the damper or other part of the vehicle. The communication architecture is quite complex. 3 years is not so much to develop a full complete system. So we use mainly controller and automotive parts that were already on the shelf available. For the communication, it was needed to use the CAN bus communication. So here you have, let's say, a global view. So we have redundant communication for safety, and we have internal communication between all ECUs of one vehicle, but also communication between vehicles, so inter-vehicles. The first vehicle is the leader who will ask through this CAN bus communication to all other vehicles what they have to do to control their wheels, to control their steering, and to control their damper, to have a safe and stable navigation. So this communication architecture was validated by taking into account all safety recommendations. And then a test bench that was in Paris and in Grenoble was used to validate all these systems. So here, just to give the list of them, you have KDBMS, Kinematic and Dynamic Behavior Management System, which is the main controller inside the vehicle. CAN-IO module, so I was saying the controller, the hub to communicate to his all, accelerator pedal, motors, braking, energy managing system, dashboard screen, interface with the user, DNR to drive the vehicle, GCMS, which is a controller used for the guiding and the coupling of vehicles inside the station, gateways to discuss between vehicles, and finally force sensors at the articulation level, but also at the cooling interface. So we designed a kind of state machine, which is all the operational modes that can be available on the system. For example, if you are driving 1 or 6 vehicles, the logic is fully different. With one vehicle, it's very similar to usual cars, but with a road train, it's quite different. For example, for a rear maneuver, it's quite complex. So this global software application was specified and developed also, still by taking into account safety study, analysis of communication and operation modes. So here you have some colors. In orange is the behavior to have inside a station when you want to guide and couple vehicles. Here in green you have states when you are in road train configuration. Blue in single or 2 vehicles configuration. And finally here, in case of issue to tow some vehicles. Here you have a view of the steering actuator. So it's a system that can be fully automatically controlled with its own motor. So the communication and servoing of this system is done with an accurate steering angle measure directly from the Komodo sensors. So Komodo are inside the front wheel of the vehicle. So also 2-wheel direction angle sensors were tested directly on the wheels, but results were not better, so it was perfect to directly use the Komodo. Okay, now from more theoretical aspects, how can we stabilize such kind of system? So first we have to define a model of the road train, kinematic and dynamic models. For that, we defined 3 parts in a road train, which are the leader, an intermediate, and the ender. Here you have a view of a leader model, intermediate, leader, intermediate, and ender model. In fact, each part is between the articulations parts. So all are rigid mechanical parts, all linked by the articulations at the center of the vehicles. Having these systems, leader, intermediate, ender, with a minimum of 2 vehicles until 6, we were able to build kinematic and dynamic models. We were using a tire model, first order, with lag and static stiffness, and to build this model we were using V-group notations that are very compact and good to keep modularity. So considering this model, then we were designing the stabilization control. So to define the state of the road train system, we are using the position and orientation of the leader, and then only the orientation of all other vehicles. This gives the complete state of the system. And after that, we have 3 control strategies that led to 3 patterns that are for the following vehicles. So you can control the central joints with the damper. First strategy. You can control the steering. Even if you have other wheels, you can have a little angle between +5 and -5 degrees. Or finally, you can directly control the torque of the wheels, the power. Okay, having these 3 possible inputs, then as a reference, we were using the kinematic avatar of the road train, whose first vehicle is combined with the first real vehicle, and we have just to see the difference between the kinematic theoretical perfect system and the real system. So we have the error state, and then we are using a linear quadratic regulator for the propulsion and steering strategy. So for that we are using a first order model to model the lateral dynamics, and control gains are established for several speeds based on the dynamic model of the linearized system. So we are in real time, so it will be too difficult in real time to have a controller working for all the speeds. So we were doing a lot of calcul of gains for several speeds, and then if we are between two calculed speeds, we are doing just calculus between these two values to have the value. And finally, it's a simple proportional derivative regulator that was used for the damper, as it was the best way to control it.
So you mentioned for the LQR, it means that you always have two computing at the same time, but not more than that, if you do the interpolation.
Yes.
So you have two sets of gains.
No, I have maybe 50 sets of gains.
But not the 50 are computed at each each time. Just two to be able to do the interpolation between the two.
In fact, it takes time to compute one set of gains, so it was done offline. And online we are using this computed set of gains at
so you're computing the 50 ones that during each pass, each loop. You're computing you have to compute two output values and then you interpolate. That's what I understand. From the gains you compute two output values and then you interpolate to have the...
Okay, so offline...
you compute the gains.
Yes, and online, if we are in a speed that where the gain were computed, it's okay, we are using this gain, but if we are between two gains, indeed we are doing the interpolation. Yeah. And yes, I didn't say that, for the regulator, it was done for the dynamic model that was linearized around the zero articulation angles. So let's imagine a straight line system, and discretized also at timestamp 10 milliseconds. Okay, so first simulations were done easily and quickly with an implementation with Python, and we were testing what kind of behavior of this system. So here you can see a first simulation to follow a trapezoid, and we have just the two kinematic and dynamic model together, and we are following this trapezoid path, and immediately you see that the dynamic in pink here has a lot of oscillations because of slidings. It's not stable at all, and not following the reference, which is the kinematic one. We will even see a better aspect of that with the next part. Okay, having these models, we needed, let's say, a more realistic model of the system to be very close to the real system. So all subcontractors of the tires, the damper, gave us all the complete models of the part of the system, and we were integrating them to the Adams 3D simulator. And we were doing a co-simulation with the C++ control code that then will be in the real vehicle. So we have such kind of vehicle, and here the road train. So in the automotive industry, there is a test that is very famous. It's called the ELK test. It comes from the north of Europe. You have an elk going on the road and you have to avoid it very fast. So it's called the ELK test. So it's used in automotive industry. So it was the reference for us to prove that our system is stable. Will it be able to perform the ELK test? So first, before thinking about such difficult test, here, without stabilization control, let's see the system at only 3 meters per second, so a little bit more than 10 kilometers per hour, in a straight line. Okay? With such an easy scenario, you can see that the system is already fully unstable. Okay? One reason of that is that all vehicles are participating to the traction of the system. So if one is a little bit more or less, that's the power that has to be used, considering conditions of the source, it's a kind of unstable state. So immediately you are unstable. So that's why it's a good reason why today we have not such kind of system in our cities. Naturally, it doesn't work. So I was talking about 3 ways of stabilize it. So the first one was with a damper control. So we were trying a damper control with dynamic anticipation and servoing for only for propulsion. So for the stabilization, we are using only the dampers. And we are doing this famous ELK test at 45 kilometers per hour. So let's see the results. So you have a zoom and the view of the system. So we have a good result. We are able only with the damper to stabilize it with an overshoot of 0.5 meter, which is the maximum overshoot at the 4th turn.
So the half meter is
yes.
the width, it goes from one side to the other side.
Yes. And also the velocity was decreasing during the 3rd turn because of a sliding phenomenon. So then we were trying the same tests, still at 45 kilometers per hour, but with only the steering. So with the steering, we will see that we have quite similar results. So I remind that with the steering, we have a plus 5 degrees, minus 5 degrees steering of the front wheels of all the towed vehicles. We are not considering the front vehicles. The steering is used only to follow the path, not for the stabilization. And we have quite similar results. So then, having these good results, we were trying to achieve the VDA test. It's exactly the same as the ELK test, but even more demanding. We have the turn that is even sharper. So this time we need both damper and steering to be stable. And we have here the best results for this VDA test at 40 km per hour with the full road train. So having performed this test in simulation with all the vehicles, it was a simulation proof that it should be possible to stabilize this system. So we have good results on this test with stabilization, with the steering or damper control. we had no significant result with the driving control, and also the driving control is very important just for the tracking of the road train, so we decided to not use it for the stabilization. And what is very important is that the driver behavior is of course important, so we have to have an expert that is driving the road train of 6 or 8 vehicles to not do dangerous maneuvers to destabilize the system. Just to say, we also used the kinematic model of the road train to do a backward navigation. Something funny is to try to drive the vehicles with more than 2 vehicles. With 2 vehicles, it's okay, it's feasible. You can have 2 vehicles together with one articulation, and you can try to do a rear maneuver. It's the same as a car with a tow. But if you have only 3 vehicles, it's not feasible anymore. You try, you think it would be this way, but the behavior is not possible to anticipate. So that's why we were just using a joystick, and automatically, by taking into account the kinematic model of the system, for the rear maneuver, the system is now able to maneuver. So we are doing these maneuvers at only 1 meter per second. Okay, just to mention it, we have another work package about the safety aspects. So I was saying about communication architecture, about the global state machine, and also about all functional safety study aspects. So then, very important part, the vehicle testing. Today, we have validated the road train navigation until 5 vehicles. So braking and basic driving functionalities, inter-vehicle communication, and the stabilization algorithms, so anti-lateral oscillation control algorithm, by using an EMU, articulation angles measures of the vehicles, and by controlling damper and steering. And yes, we have an HMI to say in which state we want to be. So official tests were done in UTAC-Montlhéry, which is a famous track for automotive tests. These tests were performed in April. So 3 main tests were performed: the full speed road handling and full braking distance, the VDA test, so which is the ELK test, more demanding, and a steering test. And the company, Lux Control, was here to witness authenticity of the testing and the ability to be certified for homologation. So at that moment, we had three fully working vehicles. So here you have the first test of braking. So we were going full speed and braking with the system. Here we have for us the more interesting test, which is the ELK test, but VDA, so more demanding. And the maximum speed was 40 km/h. And then we have the last steering test at 42 km/h. The test, in fact, consists in following a circle at the same speed and to be able to fully steer the system. Okay. Conclusions of those tests with the damper and the steering, that we were able to stabilize the 3 vehicles, but it was not it was not easy for one reason, which is the CAN communication, which has some delays. So it's not easy, even more for the steer part. So we modified the controller by using only the damper and by modifying a little bit the controller also to modify the reference to handle these delays. And finally, this October, we were able to stabilize until 5 vehicles. So here we have our last tests with the stabilization of our train of 5 vehicles. So here you have the 5 vehicles coupled together. And you can see here that you are very fast and you can stabilize the 5 vehicles. So, as planned for the end of the project, we were demonstrating the system in the 3 European cities. So here you can have a view of the system with the good-looking vehicles for demonstration. So you can see the articulated parts of the road train. You can see that you can have a very high steering angle. So that's all for the project. If you want to see more, you can see directly in the official website.
Questions? I have a short one. You said that at some point you need to have some kind of expert driver. Would it be possible to impose some constraints on the action of the driver? Like in airplanes which are fly-by-wire, you can not use exactly the command from the pilot, but you can also act upon the command to make them match exactly what should be done at this point.
I was talking about homologation of the system to be used in cities.
Mm-hmm.
If we can propose some ADAS, usual help for the driver,
mm-hmm.
Yes, it could be done, but not imposed actions, because in that case it wouldn't be, I mean, a driver wouldn't accept.
There are limits on what you can do.
Yeah, okay. Yes. Mm-hmm. So we can only advise, propose some features, but not impose them.
Yes.
So indeed, that's the limit of the system. If you do very sharp maneuvers.
But at least for two or three, it seems possible.
Yes.
More than that, you would require an official driver from the company.
Exactly.
And for 2,
yes.
Because if the cars are very small, you can imagine people that are going, let's say 4 people at a time. I see that there are only 2 places, I think.
Yes.
You would need
2 or 3 places
to have
maximum.
4 person in the thing. So people could be interested in having these 2 cars trained at some point. Yeah.
What about the suspension of the cars? Is there in the control model? Is there a twisting of the voluntary twisting of the?
Okay, we were using usual automotive suspension, so no particular active fissure.
Okay.
It is fully passive, and the suspension need to be straight. Yes, because you have a low level of the car, so it's important to not touch the soil.
Yeah.
So yes, but that's a good question. If we have the roll movements, it's also another movement to be stabilized. But in that case, it's quite stable.
But it must be more uncomfortable for people.
That's true.
Did you take in consideration the weight of the people inside the car?
Okay. It's supposed that there is nobody in third vehicles, only in the first one. So yes, we were imagining that there is 2 people, 2, 3, with a medium mass of 80 kilograms.
But no one in behind.
Yes, but we were testing the fact that the system is quite robust to a large scale of different weights in the first vehicle.
But probably they get sick. If you're in the 5th one, for some
Yes.
of the movement,
Yes.
they get sick.
Yes.
It's like a roller coaster at some point. Other question? Okay. Yeah?
Just one small remark. Just want to point out that the ELK test is in fact a quite demanding test.
Yeah.
And if you consider like 60 or 70 kilometers per hour, you need to be a highly skilled driver.
But are you allowed to kill the elk? Is it admissible that you kill the elk if you survive yourself in the test? Est-ce que tu peux tuer t'as le droit de tuer l'animal ou
I think if you fly with an elk, you're in big danger, at least at a pilot seat.
Yeah, of course. If you on the front,
Yeah.
you can kill yourself, indeed.
Yeah.
Of course, because it's large enough and heavy enough.
Yeah, I think it's in Northern Europe that's the first cause of death on the road.
I know that. In Quebec, it's the same.
Yeah.
It's a large one. Other drivers are much more, I would say, dangerous than elk, but elk is still a good one for people. Okay, so I suggest we may move on to the next speaker. Even